You're listening to the Trade Show Insights Podcast, Season 15, Episode 21. I'm your host and exhibit marketing strategist, Marlis Arnold, bringing you tools to improve your exhibit results. On today's episode, brought to you by the Exhibit Marketers Cafe, we've got a rebroadcast of our virtual lunch where we're talking trade show matchmaking techniques and trends with Nancy Drapo from the Center for Exhibition Industry Research. Our guest today, I've known for a long time. I'm sure many of you have known for a long time, but Nancy Drapo is a 27-year market research veteran, most of that time spent in the B2B exhibition industry. And she is, of course, with the Center for Exhibition Industry Research, or CEIR. And there she conducts industry-wide studies and reports on industry trends. In 2019, she was named to BizBash's 1,000 Most Influential People in Events list. Woohoo! That's a pretty big achievement. She's a well-respected industry speaker and a member of the Industry Insights Association and the Event Industry Council's Research Committee. And she is my go-to person when I'm, working with a client or I'm writing an article or a book or whatever. I contact Nancy and say, hey, do you have any stats for me? Do you have any data for me? Or do you have updates on this? So she's going to be here today to share with us about the most recent report that CEIR's been working on. So I'm anxious to have her here. So Nancy, thanks for joining Virtual Lunch.
Thanks, Marlis. And, I loved hearing all of these other ideas that you're monitoring or trends and a lot of good stuff to the notion of retro and everything else. I could start talking about those things with you. This is great. All the insights you're giving folks that are listening in. So I'm privileged to be here.
Well, thanks, Nancy. Yeah, you and I have some great conversations sometimes. We kind of go down a lot of rabbit holes.
I know, we do.
Well, let's start out talking a little bit about this matchmaking report that CEIR did. You did it in partnership with SwapCard, right?
There it is there, Marlis. You wanted me to.
Yeah.
So anybody can go to our website and download it for free. This research CEIR did for SwapCard. So the white paper part was written by Michelle Bruno for SwapCard, but the detailed the study results are also in that document. So it's a great resource for those who are interested. Pull it down.
It is. And the fact that it's a free report, so everybody can go grab it and get access to all that wonderful information. And Alan will put that link up too, so we can have that for folks to go click on. So let's start out. Let's talk a little bit about who did you interview? How was this study done?
Sure.
Who are the people that you talked with?
Right. So we reached out to executives at organizations that traditionally run, traditional trade shows or manage those types of events in North America. So the United States, Canada, Mexico. So the end result now, this survey was fielded right in the midst of that first wave of COVID. Mm-hmm. So members of CISO IAEE and those who subscribe in some way to TSNN were all invited to respond to that study. End result, we have 119 executives from those different regions, really nice high quality audience that participated. So it was fielded in mid-May through early June.
Which feels like a lifetime ago now.
It does. It was great. We got people to talk about attendee matchmaking in general in the midst of everybody scrambling and trying to figure out what to do in light of COVID. Yeah.
Well, and I know you can't really share, but you're working on a part 2. And so you redid that study again later for part 2?
Well, so, just in terms of talking about, the the pandemic, its impact on the trade show industry, we've done multi-wave surveys with U.S. trade show organizers as well. So we did one in April, repeated it in June, and we saw that, each month that we ran these studies, organizers that had postponed events till later in 2020 were forced to cancel because of
Right.
what was happening in the marketplace. So what was originally like 45% switching to some kind of digital activity by June was up to over 81% were going to some kind of platform among those that were forced to cancel. And there was a very large incidence of cancellations by that time. So the Research Council said, we need to get a better handle on what's going on out there. What's in a virtual event to
Hmm.
provide baseline data in a rapidly changing business environment. So yeah, we launched a survey which is actually global in scope.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is in the United States, Canada, Latin America, the Mideast, Africa, Asia in particular, a little bit from Europe. So I'm in the midst of analyzing that data. We're going to do our first release of the top line findings next week on the 8th of December at Expo Expo.
Mm.
So if anybody's going to Expo Expo, get on the list. Our session. I'm with Matthew Donegan Ryan from SwapCard. They too have underwritten that particular study. So again, you'll hear the key findings and examples of how events have, done well in responding to the trends that we've uncovered. And we will do more research because it keeps changing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. I mean, it's like, yeah, it is. It's been hard this year just to keep up because things have been evolving so quickly and innovating and changing in the trade show world. Well, so when we talk about matchmaking and the networking, let's kind of frame that. What different types of activities are we talking about, or were they talking about in the survey answers?
Right. This study focuses on what's happening at physical trade shows. But I
Right.
would assert that elements of what we're studied are applicable in the virtual or hybrid model.
Well, because it was still tech. I mean, it was using tech
It
to do
is, well,
matchmaking.
in part. Now, so the categories of networking that we quantified were unstructured, right? And the largest percentage of organized, 64%, pardon me, offer some kind of unstructured matchmaking. That's the receptions, the meals, special activities where folks can kind of interact with each other serendipitously or,
Hmm.
through other methods of communication. But then what this study takes a look at is, use of technology or concierge services. So where there's a self-serve feature, half of those organizers do offer some kind of matchmaking or networking opportunity, where in part it's driven by self-serve, more so to help exhibitors find qualified attendees or attendees
Right.
to find exhibitors to a lesser extent. But really important as well is for attendees to find each other. That peer-to-peer networking is important when you go to a trade show, as a very
Hmm.
profound aspect of being at an in-person event. To a much lesser extent, 31% offer staff-assisted concierge, that old-fashioned concierge hand-holding process of reaching out to attendees, recruiting them, getting them to commit, etc. So those are the categories of matchmaking networking that are out
Well,
there.
I'm actually surprised there's still that large of a percentage that's doing the concierge service because that's a very time intensive, labor intensive process for the show organizer to get involved with. So that is kind of unusual. But again, going back to the tech world, there is a lot of the technology now that's using the AI and things to help match. I know I was just, well, actually it was on a swap card hosted. Well, I mean, it wasn't a swap card hosted, but it was on the swap card platform event recently. And they had that little, these people kind of like on Amazon when it's like, you might also like this, it would pop up with a list of people. Oh, you might want to meet these people. So it was kind of an interesting way to have that, recommendation, that personal recommendation to some degree of who to go network with.
Right. I think you need to know your target audience. If
Hmm.
it's really high end, if it's the CEOs and the like, still boomers, they might want that, hand holding and the like. And I imagine, over time, and where's that? Millennials are the largest generation in the workforce. I mean, technology is like another, limb, right?
Yeah.
They think twice about it. But to the issue that you're talking about, retro, who's driving that retro
Hmm.
movement? It's younger millennial folks, including my son. And well, they're Gen Z. But what did he buy recently? He bought a disc player, one of those little 45 players. I saw this. I do judging of booths at FIT, their exhibit
Mm.
program, and those issues of retro. Are very strong among younger folks. However, there's a digital element to that. You
Yes.
one of those LPs, you've got a Bluetooth enabled function on that. It's not just an old, right? So it's coming in a different form, or Polaroid cameras, right? All that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, but back to networking. I, we shop online, so there is an expectation, there is a behavior to co-opt, right, and leverage to full advantage for in-person events or hybrid or for completely virtual. I mean, those tools should be used. I would imagine people will expect that they have access to this, and
Oh,
whatever.
definitely.
Yeah, those searches aren't that good. Be careful. If your algorithms, if you rely purely on AI, be careful. Somebody better be watching the outcomes of that to assure satisfaction that it delivers to the promise. But yeah,
Well, and that's true. And the thing with the AI, I think it'll continue to get better over time. And it probably, at this point, I'm sure a lot of it is that, the more people get involved and actually use the platforms and really take advantage of it, I think it will get smarter and it'll learn from there. But just the fact of that it, excuse me, that it gives you suggestions of people you might want to go meet. I just thought it was kind of cool and kind of helpful.
right. I think it's a great tool. Our attendee ROI report series that we did 2018, another resource to pull down for free. People pre-plan, uh,
Definitely.
and they track what they're doing. So in essence, there are these various interactions, and they'll that tool for pre-planning to find suppliers, to set up those meetings with new and prospective suppliers, as well as folks you want to meet. It should be part of the offering. Again, I don't care whether your show is in person or online or a combination thereof. um, why not do that to enhance the value and the opportunities that participants will get out of investing in one's show, right? But our research suggests that this availability of networking tools is really first and foremost invested in predominantly. It's more apt to be the case that the organizer pays for this service because they want
Right.
to keep their exhibitors happy, right? So they want to make sure that the sales leads and the quality of those sales leads are the best that they can be. And then on a secondary level, supporting the needs of attendees. Um, you know, Simply that.
Well, and let's kind of on that, let's talk about our attendees and exhibitors using it. What did you find in the study on that data?
According to the organizers, they say about half of those that have access to whatever tools are available are using them. And there's a little bit of frustration, right? You can lead
Yeah.
a horse to water, you can't get them to drink. And I mean, it is what it is. Isn't that true as well for show mobile apps, right?
Right.
Now, one thing
Well,
that, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, and the thing is, they don't really have a way to track face to face how much people are using, so they don't really know if it doesn't involve an app. They don't really know. There may not be more than half the people at a physical show that are really truly getting involved in networking and meeting people. I mean, there may be a lot of people that are just, walking the show floor and not going to the reception or whatever.
Well, it all depends upon what the attendees want to achieve.
Right.
And if that's what they want to do, and it's the nature of an open platform buying event, that's fine, as long as everybody's happy. But I mean, obviously, platforms that allow folks to set up these events, and they're using the tools within the systems made available by the organizer. The power of that data is tremendous for a number of purposes, for the organizers, for the exhibitors, and for the
Yes.
attendees, right? So that's the power of using a self-serve platform or even a concierge one. But those, again, the concierge staff assisted is, again, it's not as pervasive out there. It's the self-serve platform.
Right. Right. So are show organizers offering incentives for the attendees and exhibitors to really use these tools, or is that just kind of they just put them out there and say, hey, here you go?
Fewer than half that offer a self-serve platform, 42% offer something. And what they might offer is free entrance into the show, and to a lesser extent, free hotel. It's like 31% or something like that. Whereas concierge, now that's where, see, the concierge model is a higher end one,
Well,
where,
and the hosted buyers and all that format.
yeah, but it's the same, incentives of free entrance and a little bit more of offering of free hotels. But there's a catch, if where you get these
Mm-hmm.
incentives. On average, you need to show up to like 10 appointments or a median of 6. So there, if you're gonna
Yeah.
get a freebie, you need to make sure you're showing up in that situation. But what I found interesting is this: show up rates are quite similar whether the self-serve platform is used or concierge. So
Mm.
now exhibitors show up at a higher rate, almost like over 90%, and it's like 80% show up rate for attendees. So that's incredible, right?
Yeah.
But might it be the case then that's because self-serve, I mean, there'll be a niche of buyers or attendees that are accustomed to doing everything in their lives that way. They might not want to be bothered by anybody. They're just looking for what they want to do, set it up. But to have those tools that do that such that they feel like it's maximizing the investment of going to a show, that's fantastic, right? They show up. I mean, so in essence, it suggests that once somebody commits to an appointment, they're going to follow through.
Well, and I think that's awesome. And I know one thing that I keep hearing over and over again, that one group of people that really have actually kind of enjoyed the virtual side of things this year are the introverts, who maybe aren't as good about networking in person, but they're not as intimidated in doing it in a virtual platform or using the app, like you said. So it's kind of interesting to see how that's been evolving this year as well.
Perhaps so. We have no data on that, but that's an interesting perspective.
Well, I also wanted to share that it just so happens that tomorrow I am the moderator for Expo Chat, and we are going to be talking about how to make virtual networking work better in a virtual platform, in the virtual world. So, so there is the link, and I know again it's long. You can just go to tsnn.com and click on the Expo Chat link up at the top of the page. But yeah, so that will be our topic of conversation tomorrow. So if you are here with us today live and you want to go check it out and get involved in a more in-depth conversation tomorrow, there you go. There's your opportunity. So, well, let's talk a little bit about, and again, I know you can't really go into the second half of this, but doing the first part of the study, did you find at that point were there starting to be any trends that were emerging in the virtual side of things?
Well, we did add some questions related to COVID in that first survey. So again, at that time, 45% of surveyed organizers said they were being forced to go to a virtual platform, but their perception is going virtual enhanced the importance of attendee networking as an area of focus. And as well, at that time, about 42% were actively looking for providers for platforms to run their events virtually. Now, it doesn't go much deeper than that in that study. But again, relating to the global study that we just completed. And again, I want to motivate folks to join me on the 8th of December. But inevitably, we're all in this together in the midst of an unbelievably profound transformation, a period of experimentation. I mean, if
Hmm.
there's one thing to share, it's that, COVID's pushed traditional trade show organizers into the virtual realm, but there was an interest there. And so now they just had to jump I suppose, in the water faster, and everybody's swimming. So simply that. Everybody's trying to figure this out. So it's wonderful, Marlis, that you keep offering these common periods of discussing with folks. Everybody that's listening in, if it's important for you to figure this out, attendee engagement, as well as the virtual platforms, listen into as many presentations that are out there. Why? Because we're all experimenting. Nobody's got the secret sauce yet, right? But inevitably, attending networking is quite an important element. I would assert it's a challenging aspect for virtual events more than for physical events. Other aspects of virtual events might be something that has longevity moving forward. I don't know. We might be chatting about that next week, but just keep monitoring everything. And then there's a lot of great content to the issue of models that are happening, what's working, what's not working, and the lot. In a year's time, once COVID is behind us, it'll be very interesting to see what sticks. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Well, and in the virtual realm, I mean, there's the one-to-one video chats that have been happening, the roundtables, like what I mentioned, we're going to be doing next week at our holiday gathering. We're going to have the virtual roundtables. Those are really cool. And I can, at our event next week, you'll get to see it in action, and then I'll be sharing a little bit more about some of the other things that particular platform does that I think are really cool and I'm really excited about. But and then there's also some of the software is offering like private chat rooms, and so there's a lot of different things, and like you said, Nancy, I mean, so many of these things are evolving, and there may be the latest cool thing that hasn't even popped up on the horizon yet, but it is, like we said earlier, it is the opportunity for companies to innovate and come up with creative solutions. And I think that, so many platforms have done that this year and made it possible. Like you said, back when you guys did the initial study, there were a lot of things that probably hadn't even fallen into place yet that now, people are starting to take advantage of some of these different platforms.
I think the biggest opportunity is, connecting to a larger community, right? As it relates to networking. I think virtual has a much harder time delivering something of meaning, from the exhibitor side of the equation. Maybe it's easier if you've got a service, something that's not tangible. But you were talking about, were you talking about something about the sense of smell at the beginning?
Yes.
Right.
The
So
Museum of Smell. Yeah.
are we going to have smell-o-vision? I don't know. But I mean, it's kind of like, do I want a potato chip or do I want a Pringle? I mean, if we're going to have to reproduce something and evoke it over, into the virtual space, I don't even know if I want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Yeah.
reconstitute, pizza sauce. I want to taste it, right?
Like the Star Trek replicator, just hit the button and then it
Yeah,
appears.
well, that would be amazing, but I don't know how long that'll take.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe
Well, but I mean, it is really cool to see the kinds of things that have been happening in the virtual networking, and like I said, we'll talk more about, a lot of people will be sharing examples and ideas tomorrow on Expo Chat. So Nancy, thank you so much. The time just flies by and there's still so much more we could cover, but I really appreciate you being here today and for sharing all of this insight that SEER has gathered. And everybody, remember, you can go download that report for free, that matchmaking report. So go get a copy of that. And one thing that we didn't mention is in the back, there's actually a checklist of how to design a matchmaking program. So, some great resources, great information, great ways to move forward. So, Nancy, thank you so much for taking time out to be here when you're in the middle of getting that next report ready.
Pleasure. Thank you for letting me join you today.
You can find all the links mentioned during our interview in this episode's show notes at tradeshowinsights.com. And if you'd like to join us for an upcoming weekly virtual lunch, you'll find information on that at exhibitmarketerscafe.com/lunch. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, you can subscribe to the podcast and automatically receive future episodes on your chosen device. Simply search for Trade Show Insights in Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or virtually anywhere else that podcasts are found, then click the subscribe button. Trade Show Insights is protected by the Creative Commons copyright license. You may feel free to share this recording with colleagues or embed it on your own blog as long as it's shared in its entirety and is not used for commercial purposes. To learn more, please see the link in the sidebar of the show notes at tradeshowinsights.com. Well, that's it for this episode of Trade Show Insights. Be sure to check out our show notes and archives at tradeshowinsights.com. You can also connect with me using the social media links or the contact page on the site. I'm Marlis Arnold. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time for more tools to improve your exhibit results.